SOLIDWORKS users, it is March 2026 and I'm live here at SOLIDWORKS headquarters, ready to go into my podcast studio to record SOLIDWORKS Delivery Day, showcasing the latest enhancements inside of SOLIDWORKS Design 2026 FD01. Follow me. That's new. Wait.
Hello everyone, Manish Kumar here. Temporarily, I have taken over the SOLIDWORKS Delivery Day to share something big. As of SOLIDWORKS 2026 FD01 available right now, you have access to virtual companions inside SOLIDWORKS Design. Meet Leo, your AI-powered engineering assistant that can help you generate your assembly structures, create your drawings, and guide you when your model gets overdefined. And Leo isn't alone. You also have Aura, ready to answer your how-to questions instantly without ever leaving SOLIDWORKS interface. Upgrade to 2026 FD01 and tune into SOLIDWORKS Delivery Day to see everything that's new.
Welcome to SOLIDWORKS Delivery Day. Jesse, welcome back. Welcome back to the set.
Thank you. It's been a while since we've been here in this set.
Yeah, I was saying to you just a moment ago, everything's still here.
It's still
our
here.
podcast set is still here. Our microphones, our cameras, the lighting. So I'm
so
happy about
a
that.
good start. You know, we would have been chasing all over for stuff again.
Yes. So, but you bring up a good point. This is not the first season. This is actually the second season of SOLIDWORKS Delivery Day. So SOLIDWORKS Delivery Day, if you're joining us for the first time, it is a show that is chronicling the enhancements and new features that come out with each FD or functional delivery, that's what it stands for, of SOLIDWORKS. Many of you out there are tuning in most likely for SOLIDWORKS Design, which is the CAD package, whether you're using standard, professional, premium, or ultimate. There's a lot in these episodes here for you. So very, very, very excited about that. And Jesse, FD01 is not something we're previewing right now, right?
Right.
FD01,
Yeah, already available.
already available. Yeah, so it's already available for install, and you can take part in all of the enhancements that we have for today. But really, Delivery Day, it's a fun way to hang out. You can listen to it passively. You can watch it. It's available on YouTube and on Spotify. And especially during this season, as we're chronicling today, FD01, we'll get into FD02 in a couple months, then FD03 a couple months after that, with 14 or 15 new ways to enhance your workflows, enhance your designs, enhance the way you guys collaborate. But we'll have some fun while we're doing it as well.
Yeah, it's fun to be back for this one because obviously you and I, we just did World, so hopefully lots of you saw that. But we saw the Don't Miss This demo and got some previews of those things, some of which on that show we said you'll see soon, and soon is here.
Yeah, I'm particularly excited to get into some of the AI level enhancements that we saw. I think a lot of times in the design sphere, we look out and we're like, oh yeah, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll be able to do things like this and everything will be completely revolutionized. Well, it's an interesting point that we're at now because, we're weeks after 3D Experience World, and some of the features that we saw during that Don't Miss This demo skit where we have a future look at future releases of SOLIDWORKS Design, mostly, we're seeing some of those features now, and they're accessible, and you can install FD01 and use them now. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Yeah, for sure. I put out a top 10 video, which is available on the SOLIDWORKS YouTube channel as well. And I recorded that, days after we got back. We were just talking. Jensen Huang was on stage, NVIDIA CEO, talking about all the new things that are coming up. But then, like I said, days after I got home, we already have some cool things to share, which we'll talk about in this show as well.
Yeah, so the basic structure of today's episode, we have three major categories of enhancements. So the first one will be AI, which we'll talk about. Essentially, we're talking about virtual companions, and we will clarify what that means in a moment. But we'll have some AI level enhancements you can access today, as well as some core SOLIDWORKS Design enhancements in our second section, where we get into parts, assemblies, drawings, user experience, all the things that you may have come to expect, and also MBD, which we're excited to talk about. And then some collaborative features.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Lots of great stuff.
I'm excited to get into it. So Jesse, do you want to start us off with First of all, what a solid spot is, because a lot of our viewers are new, and then also our first feature for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. So Solid Spot, this is just a little thing that we do kind of in between. This show goes live on YouTube as well as on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, this is kind of your cue to tune in and try to figure out what this individual enhancement is going to be. See if it's something that you might want to look into in the future. I actually do kind of like listening to this show. I obviously know what we talk about, but I listen to it back on Spotify occasionally just to see what it sounds like. But I kind of like it because, you know, it's something you can kind of listen to in the background. Hopefully we're easy enough to listen to, right? And you can kind of just, you know, cue into these little solid spot moments and say, okay, this is something that I may or may not be interested in, right? All of us, we all have different workflows on the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. So some of these are going to apply to you and some of them aren't. So if you can just kind of listen through and have a cue to tune in and be like, okay, this is the next one. Let's see if this is of interest to me. Hopefully that's helpful to you guys. That's the intent anyway.
Yep. So we'll do a read off and then we'll distill it with our own experience, having made the demos, which is what Jesse and I's team does, as well as just knowing many of you in the community, how we think that these enhancements will, in a real world context outside of a demo, actually help you. So yeah,
that's exactly right. All right. So we've got our solid spot for the first one, which is the what's wrong analysis. Now, SOLIDWORKS users, today, we've got some important news to share. You can fix your broken models faster by asking Leo, your AI-powered virtual companion, to pinpoint real root cause of your feature tree issues. That's right. That means you can stop chasing around those pesky, cascading feature tree errors from now on.
So, man, you read that right off. Sometimes
spit it right out.
Little bugs in there for Jesse to see what he'll actually say just reading it. But no, I'm interested to get into this one. So many of you know that there are times with SOLIDWORKS being a constraint solver effectively in your design workflows that it will tell you at certain points that things are not solving because, a necessary dependent feature is broken down or a sketch entity has been deleted and it can't solve, right? So that you can actually continue building things that actually function and are, correspondent to different design rules you put in place in the model, all that, right? So you've probably seen this what's wrong dialogue. What we're introducing you to here as part of this virtual companion segment is this idea of virtual companions that can help you mid-design process. So this virtual companion, as you just mentioned, is to Leo, and he's very often going to help you during your design phase. Now, I don't expect many of you to be ultra familiar with who Leo is, but we are making these personas to help you out as part of different workflows that you definitely have, right? So for this case, many of us, or probably all of us watching this today, 3D model, and we've all seen the feature tree go red or have yellow inside of it. And sometimes it's hard to know exactly what to do. Especially, it can be overwhelming when you have 7 or 8 features. Just down.
Even as a veteran, it's cascading is a good word that you used in the solid spot, and I think I said something similar in the top 10 video as well. It's the what's wrong dialogue has a tendency to almost overstate the problem because most of those are probably dependent on something above it, right? So it's usually one root cause that you've changed something or broken something, and then everything else breaks as a result. So it almost is a little too alarmist, for my liking, right? Because yes, it's true that there are errors on all of those other things, but you need to figure out how to be able to get back to what is it that I actually broke. And,
right.
A lot of us are trained in that. If you've gone through essentials or things like that, you might have some techniques to be able to read this, but this is an awesome use for AI, right? We can think of your companion in this case as just an AI chat that you've got going in your SOLIDWORKS session and say, what happened here? Like, give me some assistance and point me in the right direction.
Actually talk to me.
Yep.
Because the what's wrong dialogue is great, but it's just a list.
Yeah. And it could definitely be a little bit cryptic.
It can be, and in terms of the relation to, like, we have an understanding, like you said, if you fix feature trees enough times, you have an understanding that if you are to fix things upstream, then the things that are not solving downstream or not solving correctly downstream may just repair themselves or, be in a sufficient state to be able to solve correctly again, right? We've done that a billion times, many of us, but some of us haven't. I think one area that I enjoy in terms of the direction of some of these enhancements and keenly the virtual companions here is that the conversation that you're having with Leo, this virtual companion, does not actually begin in the task pane. It pops out from the task pane. You don't have to leave SOLIDWORKS Design to see it and engage with it, but it actually begins within the button inside of what's wrong, which already pops up anyway, right?
Yeah.
So asking your virtual companion, see, this is where, like, I think having in mind when we design these tools, user experience, and even just minimizing clicks and making you aware that something exists. Let's face it, in the task pane, you have like 8 or 9 different buttons.
Yeah, most of which you don't use
You
on a
may not
daily
touch.
basis.
Yeah,
Yep.
like you might not touch. I definitely do not on a daily basis touch each one of these.
Yep.
And especially in recent releases, right? We've added a couple, so there's a lot there, and it's off to the side.
Yep.
Right. It could just be another button.
Out of sight, out of mind.
This allows you to engage with a tool that tells you root cause of your feature tree breakdowns in the moment, just in time. You mentioned Essentials, SOLIDWORKS Essentials, an Intro to SOLIDWORKS course. That's when many of us engage with this idea of a broken feature tree for the first time. What this is not relying on you to do any longer is to have taken that course necessarily, right? This is almost like a teacher in a button. So a player coach, which
We'll get to.
well, you guys will understand this in moments. It is a bit of a player coach, right? Where even if you are a beginner user, if you see that button, Ask Virtual Companion, it can explain to you in the moment why things are failing, which is really helpful, especially if you're just by yourself doing homework. You're a student, 11 p.m. at night, or you're switching to SOLIDWORKS Design from a different CAD package, and you're thinking, I don't even know how to edit a feature. What's going on here? It can be really instructive in those senses.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go so far as to take away value from Essentials. I always
I know
that wasn't your intent, but I think I like what you said there about having the information just in time, and I think even this really pairs well. If you take Essentials and you get that good baseline understanding of what's going on,
foundation.
Yep. Then when you're using Leo in these cases, it's starting to make a lot more sense to you, right? Okay, yeah, I remember that. These techniques. It sounds like a sensible solution. But even for veteran users, I find myself sometimes when I'm just trying to model something really quickly, maybe I'm not using the best practices, I'm just trying to draft out some idea really quick. I'll get myself into situations like this where I've not done something, particularly robustly, and I end up messing things up, right? Just to be able to hit this button, quick search to find back to where I have done something poorly or have made a change that's caused an issue is great, right? I don't have to go sorting through it myself. I can one click, ask a quick question, find where I'm going and be on my way, especially in times when I'm drafting something out. I'm just trying to figure things out on the fly and I don't want to waste a bunch of time on something. Maybe I'm not even going to keep the model, right? In a lot of cases when I'm just, thinking out loud, basically, I could see myself using it in those cases as well.
Jesse, I thought your model issues were never really your fault.
That is true. That's why I clarified only when I was, doing something silly that I would make use of this because yes, I am flawless.
You're flawless
in my execution.
Love that. Okay, so let's get to the next solid spot for the next feature enhancement. This one is labeled Assembly Structure Design. We are still inside of our virtual companion exploration here. So let's read off the simple explanation. Hey, good news, everyone. You can now have SOLIDWORKS Design build your assembly structure for you by asking your very own virtual companion, Leo, to A, generate the structure from a prompt, and then B, refine it like in any other conversation. So Leo making an appearance again, right? This time with another area that many of us are familiar with, which is structuring our assemblies. Or maybe you aren't familiar with it. That's kind of the point. What this is allowing you to do, and you're actively, if you're watching on YouTube or even Spotify, if you're watching there, able to see it, is we are engaging with Leo a bit more conversationally than we did with the what's wrong analysis example.
Yep.
And we're having Leo make effectively a product structure for us from scratch. So I know a lot of you do this. Maybe if you do plan it out in advance, maybe you are planning it out maybe in an Excel document and you're trying to foresee the structure of your assemblies, which has widespread performance ramifications, by the way, outside of just organizational purposes. And not just having the user, in this case, that's in the chat dialog within SOLIDWORKS Design, so we're not going out to like a web browser or anything. We're dynamically making changes to the product structure. So what we're having Leo do in this example is we ask Leo to make an assembly product structure of a BattleBot of Team Hypershock. Love Team Hypershock, right? But beyond making that product structure, we are also asking Leo to make changes to the structure, to take away a motor, to leave 2 motors to be able to drive the front and the back. And yeah, and then also to change not just the types of components and amount instances of components, but also changing some of the overall structure, demoting or promoting an assembly from, a sub-assembly state to a top-level component state, or a top-level component state to a sub-assembly state. And then from there, it gives us those structural documents and we can begin building.
Yep.
So yeah, this is an interesting kind of almost first pass look, I think, as far as delivery day goes, at how we can engage with Leo more conversationally.
Yeah, for sure. And you just touched on it at the end there, but just to be clear, this isn't making your geometry, right? This is just making the structure, right? And then you can go in and start working on the geometry itself. But a cool idea. Yeah, we've had lots of different tools sort of for this, kind of adjacent to this in the past, and Treehouse, and also all sorts of different visual ways to try to get this done. But this is an interesting new approach. What I like about this method in particular is the kind of like sweeping changes you can make. Like, okay, rename all of these in this structure, right? That's something that would take a long time if you're trying to set this up or do this in manual or like in Excel, like you were talking about. With a couple pecs on the keyboard, just rename them all to this format, or that is super powerful. And the adding and removing things, that's that's cool, but those are kind of onesie twosie things. But those big sweeping changes like that I think add a lot of value to something like this. And obviously there are cases where it makes sense to build your assembly from the bottom up, and some cases where it's easier to go from the top down. So in those cases where it makes sense to kind of visualize the whole thing to begin with, this is definitely a cool way to go. I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you do, but I would assume that when you're building a structure like this with all of the parts and subassemblies and everything right there, all of their origins are going to be matched by default, right? So if you're doing a design that is has a central origin, some designs, though, they will do that. Every part has the same origin, and then basically you match the origin, and in the assembly it fits in the right spot. This might be a cool way to do that, because you've basically done that, I assume, by default. I haven't actually double checked that, but that would be my assumption. Is I don't know where else it would place them if it didn't match them all at the beginning. So this could be a cool way to auto start systems like that, where you already know at least the majority of the parts that are going to be going in there, and sync them all up essentially right off the bat.
Yeah, you're kind of relying on that like sort of universal shared coordinate system,
right?
Which is another great point. Should also add, I mean, with Leo, these are, we mentioned FD02 will be out in a month or so, and that'll be another opportunity, I'm sure, to see even more enhancements to what Leo is able to do. So I wouldn't look at this necessarily as, oh, there's this new tool. It will always be able to help me with these 2 or 3 or 4 specific tasks. We'll just continue adding capabilities. It's almost like, think of it as we have parts, assemblies, and drawings, and you guys all know, of course, we've been adding capabilities to parts and continue to do so, and the assembly environment and drawing environment as we go for the past, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
So this is another area where it's like we're just getting started with some useful capabilities inside of these virtual companions. But yeah, do you want to talk about another one that we have with Leo?
Absolutely. So our next one up here is drawing creation, again, still in our AI section here. And yes, it's true. Automating drawing creation in SOLIDWORKS Design just got conversational. Tell Leo, your in-software virtual companion, the template, views, standards that you want, and it's ready to work for you. You can preview the result if you wish, and when you're ready, have Leo generate the drawing for you. Now that sounds pretty intriguing.
It is, and this is another area where if you guys are watching the demo, you see it. If not, this is very conversational. So what we're seeing is we have an assembly document open, and we have the task pane sort of engagement layer,
Yes.
which is labeled as SOLIDWORKS Labs, not to be confused with SOLIDWORKS Live. SOLIDWORKS Labs. And, you know, you make a new conversation with Leo directly from that area. Again, you're not leaving SOLIDWORKS to do this, and it just gives you a way to automate what is in the interface with a bit of an assistant.
You know, now that you say that, though, I do feel like we need a tab in SOLIDWORKS for SOLIDWORKS Live where you can pop that baby open. You maybe watch a little bit of Delivery Day right in your session. I'm not against it.
I'm cool sharing a tab with SOLIDWORKS Labs. Yeah.
Sure.
We can split it directly in half.
Just to
That'd be
keep
cool.
the clutter down.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be kind to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the things that I like about this, and again, if you're just listening to this, you can't see this, so I'll just describe it. But when Leo responds, it gives you a list of the settings that you're using. I almost wish that it would do that all the time, because just in that awareness of, so how many times do people go make a drawing, click, 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 whatever the defaults are, and then just start tossing views on there, right? If you're in a company that has specific templates and things like that set up, then maybe less so. But this is a nice way even just to review what you've got set up for your drawing. And it's like, it will remind you, oh yeah, no, that isn't actually what I want. I want this, that, or the other thing. So it's kind of just a side effect of, you know, creating a drawing this way. But I actually kind of like that it sort of reminds you what you've got going on, and you can confirm or deny right when you go to create it that, yeah, that is what I was actually trying to do.
It also reminds me a little bit of the assembly structure editor capability that we saw just a moment ago, in that, and you did a good job, I think, of mentioning this, that it is, you know, continually giving you a bit of a preview of the structure, and you can still make changes. You can still rename all the parts or assemblies, or automate, you know, suffixes, prefixes, whatever it is. You have the ability to generate a preview of the drawing as it understands your request to be before you actually make the drawing. So it gives you, if you ask for a preview, it'll actually give you like a sort of PNG or like JPEG look before it's actually adding the model to the views, making a drawing file, say on your PC, right, that is correspondent to the request, once again, as it understands it so far.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's almost a critical step in making this work, because it would be very frustrating, I think, otherwise, of just kind of taking some guesses and then, you know, let it go through the process of creating it and see what you get. And
it's
then,
like any conversation.
Totally.
We were talking about visuals.
Right,
like you're translating the medium.
Yep.
So to see how it understands your conversation, your requests is, it's highly relatable, I think.
Yeah, it's great to get that live view. That is a great point. And then obviously once you say okay, then it goes through and creates it, which it does pretty quick. I'm like, it's not that it takes forever to do that, but to just be able to get that preview window, dial it in quick, and then get what you want is pretty cool. We've talked about this kind of thing, not quite as advanced as this, but some of the features that have come along in the past few shows. We've talked about this, and again, to your point earlier, a nice thing if you're tuning in with us regularly, you get to kind of see the threads as these things progress, right? We'll almost every time we get a new feature, we mention it again in the upcoming show. Oh, it got even better this time. But we've been kind of going down this path a little bit about, you know, automating drawings for a little while, and this takes it even a step further than we already have. But it's such a great thing to automate, because all of that initial phase of making a drawing is basically no value add from you, the designer, right? You're just plopping stuff down. It's all just repetitive things, and then you add your value once you get the basis done. So getting all of that stuff done up front as quickly as possible just lets you get to be able to detail the drawing the way that you add value and skip the stuff that you don't need to be doing.
Awesome. Well, once again, this is FD01, so many of these capabilities are available inside of SOLIDWORKS Design 2026 FD01. If you haven't upgraded yet, definitely should to try out some of these new capabilities. We also should mention that Leo is our second virtual companion that we have available to us. So if you were watching in 2025, you likely saw us talking a bit about Aura. You probably saw this as well at 3D Experience World. Aura being more of the type of virtual companion that is knowledge share, how to style queries. That's also available inside of the SOLIDWORKS Design interface. So if you have a how-to question, for example, about SolidWorks, or as a great virtual companion to start a conversation with. So you will get more and more familiar, as you mentioned, Jesse, with the different capabilities and when to engage one versus the other as we go.
Yeah, general chat. You could think Aura, where Leo's a little more specific.
Exactly. Right, cool. Cool. Are you ready for some core SolidWorks design enhancements?
Always.
Okay, so this first one we're going to look at is Pattern Assistant inside of SolidWorks Design FD01. So I want to read off the SolidSpot explanation here before we get going. Ever feel like you keep mating the same bolts into the same holes over and over? Well, now when you start overmating repeated components, SolidWorks Design steps in and nudges you toward a pattern-driven approach. SolidWorks becomes your player coach, just like in the movie Space Jam.
Yeah. Such a good movie.
It is a great movie. It's timeless. Whenever it's on HBO Max or whatever it's called these days, I'm like, I have to watch.
Yeah, that's great.
So this one is really nice because it's another area where SolidWorks, once again, is becoming like a player coach for you. And this is a case where, and this is also, we should say, like a new style of dialogue.
Yeah,
that
good
comes
point.
up in SolidWorks.
Yep.
So this is sort of purple contextual aid.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the color, but I like the idea.
Yeah, now let us know what you think about the color purple. At least you know what it is, I would say.
True. It's unique.
Is there anything else in SolidWorks? Well,
No.
I suppose some dim expert stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
With MBD.
Yeah, maybe.
There might be some purple icons, but all that to say, pretty minimal use of purple so far.
Yeah.
So it has the real estate cornered, and so the pattern assistant shows up in the corner, and it will pop up in cases where it has discovered that you have at least a second instance of a component, and you are mating it in the same way as you did the first instance, and you're mating it in an arena where you could possibly benefit from a pattern-driven component pattern. Now, there are a few areas where you might have been thinking, I'm not exactly sure I even knew that existed.
Right.
You know, pattern-driven component patterns, I think, is one as far as I gauge, right?
Yeah, totally.
We figure,
underutilized for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you figure you have to get to it from a drop-down as far as the command manager.
Yep.
So it's not a new feature. It's been in the software for a long time.
Yep.
I don't even know exactly when we added pattern-driven component patterns, but you kind of figure if you've used CAD before, you can do a circular pattern, you can do a linear pattern,
Yep.
you may even know of one or two others, but in this case, the software is not exactly relying on you to have that knowledge that SolidWorks Design has capability A or capability B.
Yeah.
It just says, hey, I kind of see what you're looking to do here. It might be more performance efficient and might lead to better updates as the model progresses if you go with a pattern-driven component pattern approach. And I'm really happy that I was able to say that well.
I was going to say that was...
Because it's really hard.
No, and this is genius, first of all, but that is the thing that I caught onto initially as well, is, in this particular case, particularly, this is probably not a tool that you would even know is there for a lot of you out there. So for it to come in and suggest something, hey, there's a better way, that is really cool. I joked in the top 10 video that I did that this is going to put us out of a job when SolidWorks can, teach you how to use itself. But I mean, the truth is though, there is so much going on in the software. We've been building this software for 30 years. So it is not the tool that it used to be with only a handful of options. There are options galore in there, right? And I don't think you could be expected to know them all as a user. So when it comes up with something like this that says, hey, there's a potentially even a better way to do this, and then lets you go straight to that option, that is really cool. You don't have to go digging around trying to find it or figure out how to use it. It just launches you right into that tool and that environment, and then you can go about your day and learn something new, right? And the next time you will know that it's there, and you might not even need the assistant to come back, but that's the point of it, right?
There are a couple of ways aside from what you see if you're watching the demonstration, where we're doing it very simple. There's a second instance of a component, select the cylindrical face, select another cylindrical face, try to do concentric, and it says, hey, you've done this maybe before, you can pattern this, and it'll be way easier for me and you if you pattern it. It's not just that workflow, so it looks out for it. Yeah, like me and you. But like if you've ever done copy with mates, which is a feature called Copy with Mates, where you are copying a component And actively as you're doing so, you're also copying the mates with the option to reassign a face here or there as you make the copy from the source component. If you're doing that in a way where it identifies basically the same thing, that you could benefit more so, and I could benefit more so from you doing a pattern-driven component pattern, it'll pop up then. If you do quick mates, smart mates, all these other areas, very similarly, it's really just looking for that recognition that you could do a pattern, and it could be a lot easier. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to mention that this is not the only area where this purple contextual aid box has shown up. Another area that we're not covering in today's episode, but if you're using 3D Experience to manage your SOLIDWORKS data and collaborate with your teammates, there's another area where if you go into configurations while using 3D Experience, it gives you a bit of education through a purple contextual aid dialog box where it essentially says configurations can be managed in new ways inside of 3D Experience. You can apply certain part numbers to configuration names and have them identified as different parts, say in a product line. So we're not entirely relying on you to retain all that information when you go into your platform user training, right? And I appreciate that. Another area I wanted to talk about inside of this contextual aid is that there is a learn more dropdown. So if you hit the learn more dropdown, it gives you a few looping animations of what the pattern driven component pattern does. So you don't have to go out and Google, what is this, or ask some AI, LLM or whatever, like exactly, ask your virtual companion. What it does, it shows you right there, once again, like we said, just in time.
Yeah, that is really neat. And I do that is such a shift just in general, and I tend to learn best that way. I don't tend to learn very well when I
don't know why this is going to be useful, but
I don't know why it's going to be
someone's telling me that
yeah.
someone with the experience is telling me it will be useful someday,
right?
And I'm sure I'll remember it in 3.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And there's value to it, and I do it myself. But almost everything that I use and remember is something where I'm working on a project and I just need to figure it out right then and there, and I figure it out right then and there through one way or another. So tools that pop up like this that are assistive in that way, I think are really powerful. And it's another thing that you'll stick with you more, right? Because you're using it in the context of something you need to use it for, not some generic example that might be semi-applicable to you.
Cool. You want to get to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. Coming up next, we have some performance enhancements, which who doesn't love performance enhancements? Good news. Pattern cuts now rebuild faster automatically in SOLIDWORKS Design. The software now automatically applies the right optimization for you, so you don't have to hunt down the right checkboxes.
This is something where whenever we do the first yearly episode of SOLIDWORKS Live, as far as the software is concerned, the what's new in whatever the year is, what's new in SOLIDWORKS 2026 or 2025, we did that. When we do 2027, I always have R&D leadership come on, and they always present first because I want to remind everyone that we are consistently improving the performance of the software beyond just new features and things that we can say, hey, this dialogue has never popped up before.
Yeah.
This is a new type of dialogue. Those things are important. That's why we're talking about them. That's why you're watching. But what's also important, and perhaps most important of all, is performance in the areas where I'm already using SOLIDWORKS Design every single day.
Yeah.
And this is one of those areas. So the way this enhancement developed, this was from just a customer report where our R&D team was connected with you guys. And I think it started out as a sheet metal specific enhancement where when there were sheet metal parts with a lot of cuts, a lot of linear pattern cuts, that performance would degrade. There are areas inside of the linear pattern dialog box. If you go to look, next time you do a linear pattern feature, there's several checkboxes that allow you to control performance. So there's, your end condition.
Yep.
Does the cut stop at a surface or does it just keep going? Do I have the cut going, 100 millimeters in, or do I have it going through every body it finds? It goes through everything.
Yeah.
Never
geometry only, or who knows?
Exactly.
Yep.
There's so many different conditions, but some of those checkboxes are deliberately for performance and to specify levels of performance. And maybe you learned about them in a SOLIDWORKS course, or maybe a coworker mentioned them, 5 years ago or something, but maybe you forgot. Or maybe as you were adding a feature, you were in a rush and you're like, I'm not going to go check this checkbox to improve performance in this context. Effectively, what this enhancement is doing in the background is it is evaluating the state of the model and the intent, and it's doing this sort of checkboxing effect for you. And thereby it's making performance a lot better in these cases where you have a lot of cuts and you're going through all the cuts at a facial level, all edge level, they all are basically the same. It's making it so that you can get some really nice performance benefits out of it without actually having to check those checkboxes that you used to have to in SOLIDWORKS 2010 or even 2026 FD0. Like it's FD01 that you'll reap these. So if you, moral of the story here is that if you have a part with a lot of linear pattern cuts, if this is something you do often or even a little bit, and you have a part like this, and this is from the big horizontal driller assembly.
Yeah.
Like
7,000-8,000 components.
Yeah, and if you don't know, I mean, edge count, face count, especially in some irregular geometry, some irregular cuts, like that can really get high very quickly, and that's pretty taxing on the software, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And, these performance things, this is obviously a very common, and actually I just learned a little bit from you there. I didn't even realize exactly what it was doing in the background. So that's cool. So that really applies in a lot of scenarios, right? It's not a specific tool. And I love when we come across some specific issue and then look into it and then find, oh, hold on, there's actually a sweeping thing that we can apply here that applies in a whole bunch of different cases, and actually it will improve a lot of different things at once. I'm always satisfied when that happens. But yeah, I mean, these things really stack up. I mean, you look at 18% rebuild on one particular part. Okay, well, that might not save you a huge amount of time, but you start stacking that up over all of the components that you work on a regular basis, that really starts to add up, and especially when it's a common scenario like this happens to be. So super cool.
For sure. I think another one that we'll get into right now that has some widespread advantages is relation groups. This is for anyone that's doing sketching in SOLIDWORKS.
So anybody out there?
Yeah, just the 1% of you who do that. Okay, so I'll read the solid spot here as we begin. Complex sketch relations are finally easier to understand and edit as of SOLIDWORKS Design 2026 FD01. The sketch command now numerically groups and manages multi-entity relations cleaner and clearer as part of SOLIDWORKS Design 2026 FD01, available today. Okay, so this one, if you ever made a sketch that is complex, and it's a funny way of describing it, I'd say, like a complex sketch, essentially you're just saying, like, I've made a sketch with a lot of entities and like a lot of rules. This will come in handy as soon as you see exactly what it's doing. If you're not watching, what is this doing for many common relation types as of FD01, like collinear, equal, co-radial, is equal. It's essentially giving you an enumerated look at those. So it's labeling them with numbers, which is really helpful. Because if you have one of those complex sketches, you have a lot of different entities, you have a lot of circles, a lot of different lines, rectangles. You might have equal relations everywhere, right? It's like which one is which, and you can highlight it. So it makes it a bit more distinguished in that way. Another thing that it does as well is, let's say you have a relation between more than two entities, right? It will now ask you, if you press on one of the relations and click delete, if you'd like to delete the relationship that specific entity has to the overall relation, or if you'd like to just smoke the relation altogether, get rid of it. So there's a lot here.
Yeah, there's two things that I like about this. For one, relations can get pretty complex, right? Even on a pretty simple sketch, like I would consider this a simple sketch, right? Your definition of complex is kind of flexible in this sense, because it's really just complex in the number of relations that you're getting, which can add up very quickly. So I often spend a lot of time toggling my relations on and off on those complex sketches, because you do need to see them, but then
the
visibility of them, because they just get in the way, or you just get a sea of them. So you can toggle those, from the heads up display. So anything that reduces the clutter there, I think is helpful, because they are very important. But the other thing is just what you described there, trying to, having them enumerated is key, because how many times have you gone in, you make a sketch, you accidentally get a relation somewhere that you either added yourself or you got an auto relation that you didn't intend for, and then something is going on with your sketch that you're trying to work out, and you start deleting the one that you think it should be, and that wasn't it. You delete the one next one you thought it would be, that wasn't it, then the next one, then the next one, then finally you just go through and delete every equal relation or every midpoint relation, and then it's like, okay, I'll just add back in the ones that I need, right? Well, having these labeled more clearly really is going to go a long way in tracking those down when you decide to do something different with your sketch, or you make a mistake. Just fixing that, I really like that. I really like that a lot.
You should note as well, when you're upgrading to FD01, that's just something to look out for. When you upgrade an FD01, your pre-established relations will essentially follow the old rules until you edit them, change them. Let's say you add an entity to a relation group, then it'll say, okay, I'm going to enumerate this, and then treat you as essentially what Jesse and I said, those sorts of rules. If you're also curious, this is an area where I could see myself hearing about it and then wanting to read more. This is a great time to plug the What's New document. So if you go inside the What's New document for FD01, we have a What's New document that's published for every functional delivery release. Just you look up relation groups and you can reference to behavior there. Which relations it applies to, I'd be wanting to double check that. We talked about it earlier. How it functions. What's the behavior for at this point legacy sketches, basically sketches you've already done heading into FD01. So yeah, definitely a good time to shout out the What's New doc.
Yeah, very good point.
Cool. Want to head on to the next one where we get into drawings?
Yeah, let's do that. So the next one here we've got is drawing view blocks, which doesn't sound so exciting maybe on the face of it, but in SOLIDWORKS Design 2026, FDO components as blocks, so downstream drafting stays more organized and reusable. This one,
was this yours?
This was not mine, and in fact, I mentioned this in the top 10 video. I did not even know this was coming. It was not on my radar at all. I didn't know it was coming, and then I saw the vignette. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
It definitely was one of those when I looked at it that I guess I was surprised it wasn't there already. I was like, wow, this is a really, really nice one.
It's really cool. So for those of you just listening, we'll describe what's going on here. So basically, if you there's a multitude of ways that you can save DXF for DWG information out of SOLIDWORKS, but the way that we're doing it here is just with saving a drawing and drawing views. But the option here now is that you can export the top level components as blocks, and then when you open that in DraftSite, for example, you get those blocks already pre-made. So your sub-assemblies or your components are already set as blocks, which saves enormous amounts of time over having each line essentially be individual and on its own, out for its own sake. This is really cool. Again, one that I didn't know was coming, but talk about adding usability to those downstream things. It's got a 10x the usability of that file once you bring it into 2D.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm not sure if it was the default behavior, but I think the default behavior was that the views themselves would be isolated or sort of distinguished as separate blocks.
I think you might be right there.
Or you could also, as we're seeing within the options, you could just export it, basically geometry, just a set of
just as all totally exploited.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So this is a really, really nice enhancement.
Yeah.
So essentially you're changing the system options of SOLIDWORKS to be able to get this to behave this way.
Right.
So just again, if you're not watching, you go into the system options, which the vignette shows you can sort of shortcut your way into it. If you do save as DWG or DXF, then you'll see an options button.
Yes.
It takes you to the system options for exporting DWGs or DXFs. And then you can change the radio button toggle to be able to export out the top level components as their own respective blocks, which is really nice. Yeah, and then we show in DraftSite, you do isolate entities command, type that in, and you can isolate just that component.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, way more usable.
Yeah, very neat. So drawings, we're not done with drawings though, right?
No, sir.
So we have another drawings enhancement. I really like this one. I was probably the biggest proponent in making sure, not that you don't like this feature, but I was like, I have to put this in there.
Yeah.
I've literally seen this come up so many times.
Yeah.
And this one is about graphic bodies. So I'll read the solid spot for you guys to kick us off. New inside SOLIDWORKS Design, you can finally show graphic bodies and drawings. This means reference/purchase geometry finally appears where you need it on the print without you needing to mess with it. No remodeling or extra notation necessary. Yeah, so this is pretty great. This is another area where, not in the system options, but in the document properties, so you can set this up in your templates. If this happens to you a lot, you can set up an option to where graphics bodies, if they appear in your models, are shown on the drawing view. So as I mentioned, reference parts, purchase parts, messy geometry,
Right. Right.
or highly faceted geometry, anything that's coming in as graphic bodies, you can now show it on a drawing. And yeah, I love that. I think that's great.
And I did this particular demo, so you can see me clicking, if you're watching the video, clicking through a little bit here and there and changing options. But it should be noted that it will do this automatically in newer versions. If you get back to 2024, I think, and beyond, you'll have to go turn it on for those drawings. But yeah, it should.
You're saying drawings that were last saved in 2024?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
Yep. So I think that functionality, I think that's the cutoff off the top of my head. I
think you're right.
Okay.
I'm just reading notes here.
So the functionality should be on by default for newer drawings, or if you're creating them from scratch now. But yeah, it is really great. I mean, the context is really the big thing, right? Because a lot of times what I try to illustrate here with this is, some particular component that is in the context of a larger subassembly that you might need to identify, right? Sometimes it's helpful to say, okay, this is where this part goes on a drawing. And occasionally that happens, like you say, where you've got all sorts of parts that you have, purchased or you've gotten from a supplier that are just gross, right?
Yeah, right.
They're just gross, right?
Yeah.
They're imported files that don't behave well, or they've been, through the ringer, and it doesn't make sense. Like in this case, there's a little speaker on the top. It's not worth going through remodeling that just for the sake of showing it, where it previously you weren't able to get it onto the drawing before. So now you can show it regardless and have it there for the sake of clarity, and that is a nice change. I agree with you.
Showing as well, if you have it can avoid some documentation confusion. If you have a bill of materials that calls it out deliberately,
right?
It's
yeah,
just not there.
Right. Yeah, very much so.
There's nothing there to point to visually.
And even just in this case, it's confusing too, right? Because there's maybe two of these speakers, and someone looking at this is like, well, where's the other one? I don't. Right. It just it raises more questions than it needs to, right? When something is omitted, only because the file format was not ideal, right? So now you can take advantage of that either way.
Awesome. So speaking of documentation, you got an MBD enhancement to get to, right?
MBD, yeah.
Yep. It's all you.
All right. Let's take a look at that one. Now, model-based definition fans, we've got good news. You can now add ordinate dimensions directly on the 3D model, resulting in clearer manufacturing intent with less dependence on 2D drawings.
The conversation on MBD has definitely been picking up.
It has.
Yeah, at least in the sort of social professional spheres that I follow. A lot of conversation about it. There are several sessions that were available online. Of course, you can find a lot of information, but sessions available at 3D Experience World as well, which of course just occurred this February.
Yeah.
But a lot of interest, and ordinate dimensions it's a very popular dimensional style.
Yes.
And to be able to
I would argue maybe even more useful in 3D than it is in 2D. Seeing something simple like this, like I almost kind of like that style more in MBD than I would on a drawing. I don't know why that is. Maybe just visually.
Yeah. So this is definitely a welcome enhancement. But let us know in the comments if you are utilizing SOLIDWORKS today for MBD level workflows. It's interesting, like just conversationally zooming out a little bit. One sort of detracting comment that I hear about MBD overall is that if people on the shop floor are not wanting to deal with it, if they want to look at drawings, then eventually you're just going to be making drawings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be curious as well in the comments, again, just conversationally, trying to learn from you guys as well. Have you experienced that at your companies? Have you had to navigate around it? Did you not navigate around it? Are you still looking for ways to navigate around it? So if you are at this point in the show and that is a situation you're faced with, just really interested overall in the area.
Yeah, at some point that's going to change. I mean, every time we talk about this, I say that we've been saying that since the 70s, right? My dad used to say drawings are going away in the 70s, and it still hasn't happened. But at some point, it will. I mean, I would say almost certainly not that drawings will not exist anymore, but we've got more and more automation of them, and this kind of leans into that too, right? If they're I think when people talk about automating drawings, you think, okay, well, there's a whole bunch of my secret sauce that I build into my drawings. Like that's what I do in detailing out those drawings. That's where I add benefit. This could be another way forward for that, right? You're building in your secret sauce right into the model itself. And then when the rest of the automation that isn't your secret sauce happens to create the drawing, it takes all of the information that you've already baked into the model, and then you've got it in both places where you can send a model and it's got your information in it, and then you can also record that information with an automated 2D drawing. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, but it's a workflow that I could see happening in the future. And obviously our platform is a great way to share 3D data between users, and tools like that are only becoming more and more popular. So I love to see why I said it in the top 10 video that MBD is not a topic that I personally talk about a lot, but I'm always excited to see features adding in because I know they're going to be needed in the foreseeable future, right? So the more functionality it's got ready to go when we are, and not that there aren't people using it already, because there certainly are, but as it becomes more and more mainstream, and like you just said, the more ready it'll be to add value right away. So cool to see that they're plugging away and adding those features in.
Yeah, and you mentioned your video, so it's a sort of a top 10. It's around 7 or 8 minutes.
Right? Yeah, something like that.
So SOLIDWORKS.com/delivery is where you can find that video. All right, let's move on to our collaborative enhancements. So I'll kick us off here with PLM Attributes for your bill of materials, new in FD01. So the solid spot here. If you're using SOLIDWORKS Design today in FD01, you can pull PLM style properties like maturity state straight into your bill of materials tables without mapping them into file custom properties first. So that last aspect for me was pretty key, because I guess I'm pretty used to having to do those things, like go into a custom property, make a named custom property, save it in a template, map it to some special keyed attribute, and then in some funky way get it to appear very systematically through my own customization. But no, I mean it makes sense, right? If you're using the platform to manage your designs, and we have the platform add-in right inside of SOLIDWORKS Design, it's already pulling the data. The data is available in the session, so we are making it now that as part of bill of materials columns that you can actually just have that data shown, but then also upkept parametrically like everything else, to where if it changes, it reflects the change. You're not having to edit it like an Excel table by yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm the exact opposite. I right click, I add a new column, and then I call you because I can't figure out how to get it to work. So I am overjoyed to see this, and you could say this is a long time coming feature to get that data in there, but I'm thrilled to see that just direct compatibility now with that stuff. It just makes it that much more usable. There's so much data that the platform is handling and managing for you, so the more you can just directly access in SOLIDWORKS, the more and more usable it becomes.
Yeah, so we see here we're adding the maturity, but you can also you have revisions there, locked by is there. There's probably like 12 different properties that are sitting there as far as PLM attributes go. So you can set it up, and I alluded to it earlier, but I think it merits some element of rephrasing or restating as far as the admin headache of having the map properties, and when they break down and when they weren't used properly,
managing them.
Misspellings. If it's spellings, right, not using the right template, and properties not carrying. You guys, anyone who's done that kind of work, those things happen, and those calls are kind of annoying, or those messages, however they come into you, doesn't matter how they come in, they're always annoying. So I'm glad to say that if you're using platform for your data management and process needs, it's there. It's integrated within SOLIDWORks in this new and enriching way.
Yeah, those are the things that really need to be pre-baked, and they are.
Awesome. All right, so let's check out, as far as collaborative enhancements, let's check out the next one.
Yeah, so we'll move on to open latest revision. So working with a team on your SOLIDWORks project and struggling to keep everyone on the current revision, well, if so, listen up. You can now automatically set your team to open the latest first level revisions in your drawings and assemblies so your team can stay current without all the manual chasing and cleaning.
Yeah.
Isn't that delightful?
It is delightful. So there is a little bit of setup here involved. So you can see like the web-based interface for 3D experience where you are allowing at an admin level the option to be set at open. And essentially what it's doing is it is for top level components that are referenced, let's say at a drawing level or at an assembly level with its top level components, is ensuring that for those first level references that it is pulling in the latest revision.
Yeah.
So the software has told you, and the platform add-in has told you for a while, like you can show that column is latest revision.
Yes.
And it'll have an X if it is not, it'll have a check mark if it is. What this is doing is it's making it so that pretty much regardless of what you have cached, what's, as far as things that are in work, in that sort of in work maturity state, that it will pull in the latest revision for you by default.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about it.
And that's a great point, right? It's not going to go overriding things that are already frozen. Yeah, it's just for your work.
Yeah. So this is another nicety at an admin level, but also at a user level. Like you don't want to be working on something and then you reference it dimensionally or otherwise, and it's out of date. It's
right.
Like, oh crap, I have to redo that. And at an admin level, engineering manager level, like these are things that will come into play where you have to chase down what happened, do kind of like Aura or kind of like Leo does, that root cause analysis of what went wrong. Yeah. But in this case with your actual products, which is not fun.
Right.
So, so it lessens the chance that would occur.
Yeah, for sure. And, especially with we just talked about how many tabs there are over there on our task pane. If you're using Leo a lot, maybe you're not looking at your my session pane, so maybe you're not keeping an eye on those green checks and red X's. So if you just want to have it set to always open whatever the latest version is, good to go.
Very good point.
Love it.
All right, so let's check in on our next one as far as collaborative enhancements go in SOLIDWORks, and this one is called the Content Explorer. Solid spot here is find and manage platform content like Windows Explorer, less app switching, faster onboarding, better productivity with a far greater blend of security and accessibility. So this is a net new style interface. It's not like when you had the platform that you couldn't organize things in a sort of Windows Explorer-esque way.
Right.
With bookmarks, you could get it to work that way, if that's how you wanted to tag things, and you kind of rely on that tagging structure almost as like a folder structure, but it wasn't really like built to be that.
Yeah.
And then 3D space, which is like sort of like almost if you're familiar with PDM, it's like your vault. That's where all your stuff is, and you could search and look things up by name, by keywords, by property attributes. You still do all that stuff. Yeah. But this gives you out of the box like a much cleaner interface with nice thumbnails, maturity states, the ability to change maturity states, access whether files are locked, like all the key information to view and manage is like right there, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm overly excited about this one. I don't mind saying that I feel like I wanted this from day one.
Yeah, and this is why it's here.
Yeah,
like you were one voice.
Yeah, I was one. Yeah.
But the thing is, as you guys know, one voice becomes two, and then two becomes 200 and 2,000.
Yeah,
I want this.
Yeah,
that's why we developed it.
There's many reasons why it came about, but I to take a step back to what you were just saying. A lot of people may not even realize how customizable the tabs and dashboards and things like that are in on the platform. If you're watching the video along, you can see there's a handful of tabs across the top, and you can customize these kind of to the nth degree, basically dragging widgets on there and this and that. And I would say that we're generally fairly good at customizing them, but you shouldn't have to be good at customizing them to get a good clean view. And I love this as a first step. Drop this thing on a tab, and you've got most of the stuff that you need to be able to find to be productive right off the bat, right? So it's an excellent home screen. You can find all of the stuff that you're looking for. It's pretty well organized. It's comfortable to use. I really like everything about it, to be honest.
We should clarify too, these are SOLIDWORKS files that we're looking at.
Right. Yep.
They may have different icons in this interface, thumbnails. You've probably seen some of these parts that we've made, some of these assemblies we've made already. So you might have kind of connected the dots already there, but these are SOLIDWORKS files. And this is in a web interface. This is the Content Explorer, which is what we're looking at now. This way of exploring, managing your content life cycles all in one space that feels like Windows Explorer in good ways, but also gives you the PLM benefits in the ways that you're supposed to have them. That is available right now in the web interface. And this is really the start of this project. This is currently in beta. It's being improved upon. It is being developed. We're taking feedback. We're going to see that inside of Plan, having a lot of these capabilities inside of SOLIDWORKS Design.
Beautiful.
So yeah, this is not a feature just like Leo, just like Aura, where we're saying, hey, it's released, have fun, never touching it again.
Yeah.
No, we're going to continue adding capabilities. You can use it now, but we're going to continue adding capabilities as we go. Maybe in FD02, maybe in FD03, as you continue to watch Delivery Day, we'll have more updates and more enhancements.
Yeah.
Some of them that are planned, and then some of them that may not even be planned yet. And you're using it and giving feedback to your value-added reseller, saying like, hey, it'd be really awesome if it could do this instead. And we change it. And on Delivery Day, we announce those changes. So, but yeah, I would say for now, try it. Check it out, the Content Explorer, if you're managing your SOLIDWORKS files using 3D Experience, and more to come.
Yeah, definitely. And I, said that you shouldn't have to be able to customize things to find your stuff. But if you are a platform user, definitely get comfortable with customizing those and building dashboards, because it is super powerful. That is one of my favorite things about working on the platform, is just you can set things up to do a specific task, or you can set things up to do what you do on a daily basis almost instantly. It's all drag and drop, right? So you can do that and save that in all kinds of different views. And, we can see drag and dropping between widgets and things like that. So it is worth getting used to working with those controls, because it is a huge time saver. But this is an excellent place to start with the new Explorer.
Cool. You want to get to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So last on our list here, we've got a solid spot for this one being choose which SOLIDWORKS Design release you install from the platform, with more control over when and how you upgrade.
So we put this in this section, collaborative enhancements, because it is pertaining to platform-based installs. Basically, if you have SOLIDWORKS license in a named user capacity, that's it. Like some of us have SOLIDWORKS license in a serial number based capacity, or like a machine specific activation capacity. Some of us have it where it's named user, where it follows the user login, doesn't sort of tether itself to the machine, to a PC. Right. So we're talking about that case. So when we initially came out with this version of licensing, this sort of named user licensing that's managed through 3D Experience, we had a couple concepts about how it could work and how it could make things better for admins. We are big proponents, of course, on Delivery Day of staying current and staying on the latest release if you want the latest capabilities at all times. But we also understand clearly that some of you, for a variety of reasons that we've talked about, you might have to stay for app compatibility, for operating system level compatibility. We had our operating system episode on FD04.
Yeah, we did.
Celebrate FD04.
Yep.
Or not installation,
where we
talked about operating systems. Mm-hmm. But yeah, anyway, lots of reasons, hundreds of reasons, maybe thousands of reasons why you might have to stay on, say, SOLIDWORKS 2025, the previous major release.
Yeah, working with a customer or supplier or something. Who knows? Yep, definitely.
So we're allowing or giving that level of flexibility if you have a named user license now. So you can install SOLIDWORKS Design 2025 if you wish, SOLIDWORKS 2026, of course, if you wish. But you can also this is another part that came up just through feedback from you guys, our customers. You can also control to a much greater degree now when SOLIDWORKS gives you those patches, those upgrades.
Yeah.
So it used to be, it's like always current. Okay, you have to do an upgrade. Okay, in theory, if you don't go too far down the road of what is my actual work, it's like, that's awesome, right? Like it's making sure that I have the latest fixes so I can have the best performance upgrades, whatever. But your work, right? I mentioned it earlier. Like, what if you're like, I have to do a project right now. It's due in 10 minutes. Yeah. You can't make me upgrade right now. And that's what you guys said.
I've had that happen to me with the platform, actually.
Yeah.
Where I needed to get something done. So,
and that's
another welcome.
That's real life.
It happens.
So yeah, we're just providing more flexibility.
And of course, there is a grace period too, right? You've got a 15-day or something. Right. I think it's still 15 days.
Yeah. So providing that level of flexibility is really the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But if you do install 2025, make sure you install 2026 on a different machine so you can follow along with us on delivery day.
Sure. All right. So that brings us to the end of our enhancements. Remember to subscribe to the SOLIDWORKS YouTube channel for future episodes of Delivery Day. We'll be back with FD02 in 6 to 8 weeks, most likely.
Yeah.
It's coming up fast because we just keep releasing more FDs this time of year with more enhancements. Once again, Delivery Day, 14 or 15 of the top enhancements from the release as selected by our team in terms of just understanding your workflows and what you'll find most impactful. But if you want to see more new features, head out to solidworks.com/deliveryday. You can also, once again, check out the What's New document.
Yeah. It's
like over 100 pages for this release. We could not possibly, within a podcast that's about an hour, get to all those. I don't know if you'd want us to. We're just trying to surface like the ones that we find, once again, are most pertinent and most relevant to your workflows. So you can check that out inside of SOLIDWORKS, or even just Google the SOLIDWORKS What's New doc.
Yeah, we try to pick some of the good ones so we can at least go into a little bit of detail. Obviously, I did a top 10 video where it's basically, here's the feature, good luck. Where this show, we can kind of at least get into a little bit of detail and check them out and see what's under the hood a little bit.
Cool. And yeah, and just a couple weeks, maybe we can show a bug here. Just a couple weeks, I'm actually delivering more of a deep dive as part of our live design program on some of the virtual companion features that you saw. So if you're enticed and you want to learn more and you also want to be live and ask questions, we will be doing that here at the end of March. But until then, upgrade to FD01 and we'll see you soon.